Illinois, the land of Lincoln, is actually the land of Lincoln logs for whitetails, and that's why I like hunting here.
Illinois has risen to the top of the charts when it comes to bruiser bucks, and today host Mark Kayser is right in the middle of all the action. Then it's off to Wyoming and Montana to chase trophy bucks, run and gun style.
Boy, the first day, the first few hours of the hunt, I was excited. We got on a shooter right away. I mean, right out of the box.
Winchester Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by
Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technologies, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Rifles and Shotguns, the guns that work.
This is the one spot where I have a very good chance of coming face to face with the buck of my dreams. If you're going to shoot a big one, sometimes you got to let those little ones walk.
Today, Mark's hunting a region of Illinois affectionately referred to by whitetail fanatics as the Golden Triangle. The area includes the now famous Pike, Brown, and Adams counties, where many of the country's biggest whitetail bucks are taken each year.
It's opening day of the Illinois gun season. We saw a giant this morning. He stayed on the other side of this CRP field from us, and it was too far to shoot. If I'd had a high power, it wouldn't have been, but we got shotguns and muzzleloaders. That's what you gotta hunt with in Illinois. My good friend Mike Pavlik, he gave me this field to hunt, and he said I could stay here and work it however I wanted to. Usually, you like to sit, and I do. I'm a sitter. I'm patient. But this buck has got a hot doe, and he went up into some thick bedding cover where I've been bow hunting before, and I know it's thick and good cover. We're gonna use this creek bottom, get around. We're out of sight. We're below the bank. We shouldn't spook any deer. Get around, we'll come up on the edge of the CRP, and we'll try to get in. There's shots all over. And we'll try to get in within a couple hundred yards of that bedding cover, and hopefully he'll get that hot doe up and moving again. Let's go.
There's a bigger concentration of big deer here more than any place in the world. They're just here. I mean, off this one farm that we were here this weekend, we've now killed 5 160s. That's pretty good. And that doesn't mean that every guy that comes here is going to shoot a 160. It's just that every guy has the opportunity. And you know, if you listen to your guide and listen to what's going on, and are a relatively good shot, you've got a really good chance.
We didn't see that buck in here. I didn't want to push in too far because there's just not enough cover noise. It's too noisy. I was just hoping the hot doe, there'd be several bucks around chasing them. We'd catch them on the fringe here. Since they're not up running right now, we're about an hour before the real activity starts in the afternoon. We're going back to another setup along a field edge and watch there. And this is a field where this buck easily, if he's where I think he is, could drop down, show up at the edge right at dark.
There's something in the soil here because there used to be a lot of strip mines and coal mines and oil, and there's a lot of natural mineral licks and stuff like that. I mean, there's corn and soybeans, you know, everywhere in the area, but I think it's just that. There's a lot of white oaks, a lot of acorn. So a 3.5-year-old deer will easy score 150. to 170. You know, like the 2.5-year-olds go by. Next year you have a lot of 3.5-year-olds on your property, and you get a lot of big deer that way.
As the afternoon was growing a little older, sun was getting lower, I snuck out of there to set up where I figured he'd come out. And here come the deer. 1, 2, 3, close to 30-some deer come out, but no big boy. Went back to the lodge, started explaining to Randy the deer I saw, and Randy's mouth just went, and he goes, "Come here." And we went outside where all the deer were hanging, and there hung that buck.
You know what happened, don't you?
Yeah.
You stole my thunder. Oh, look at the mass on that thing. And I knew, see how this point's bladed out? I could see that. I have my 12-power scope on my rifle, so I cranked it up, and then I could see that and how long it was that it come to the end of his nose, and I'm thinking, that's a horse. That is a horseful whitetail. Well, I tell you what, if I got to get upstaged by anybody, I think a 13-year-old boy is the person I'd like to get upstaged by. So.
Thank you.
And another thing, you know, when you shoot a big deer like this, it's tough to top that, right?
Yeah.
Now you got to go for a 170.
Yeah, that's going to be hard.
If you remember one thing out of all this, though, I want you to remember what's even more special than shooting a big buck like this is someday you just remember that your dad took you hunting and you got to spend time with your dad, and that to me is as good or better.
Because I know a lot of kids that their dads don't take them.
That's right. And you've got a dad that appreciates you, appreciates the outdoors, and appreciates time spent with his children.
We crawled up to this field, hopefully to catch some deer out. There's good points connecting this field and the Bucks Cross right through the middle.
Let's get to this week's Whitetail Insider, your source for the latest in the ever-changing world of whitetail hunting. With their guard somewhat down and still mired in summer patterns, early season bucks can be prime for the taking.
Some incredible bucks were shot across North America in 2006. None bigger than a 36-pointer shot by Amish hunter John Schmucker in Ohio. The afternoon of September 30, John sneaked into the woods and ran his climber up a tree near a crop field. He knew he was in a big buck spot. John and some other local hunters had seen a giant non-typical in the area for several years. They'd also found enormous tracks and rubs. And then there he was. John held together and made a good shot with his crossbow. The buck went 80 yards. The rat gross scored 304 and netted an incredible 295, one of the top whitetails ever killed anywhere in North America. Many old bucks are homebodies that live in core areas of only several hundred acres. Once you find a giant in his sign, hunt for him right there. Also, everybody talks about the rut, but the first week of bow season in September, October can be just as good or even better. It's a perfect time to ambush a monster like John's world-class 300-inch non-typical. From the Big Buck Zone, I'm Mike Handback.
Illinois, the land of Lincoln, is actually the land of Lincoln logs for whitetails, and that's why I like hunting here. You just never know when you're going to see that potential, maybe even world record, but a potential trophy. You don't get that everywhere hunting in the United States. You know, the Midwest, Iowa, Illinois, Kansas, those are good spots, but a lot of the places you hunt, you're lucky to see a 140 class deer. But here, you actually have the chance not only to see a big one, but possibly take it.
It's about 8:30 in the morning. We crawled up to this field, hopefully to catch some deer out. There were a bunch out earlier, 15 of them or so. One medium buck come out, but not a shooter. From here until noon, they'll probably come and go, but there's good points connecting this field and the Bucks Cross right through the middle. So we see a lot of buck activity midday, so anything could happen at any time.
You couldn't find a more difficult hunt than Illinois. Not because there aren't deer, it's because they only give you 3 days. Oh man, 3 days to pick out the buck of your dreams. And you've got to use a primitive weapon. 3 days, oh, that is a heart jerker. And it gives you, and it shouldn't, but it gives you a little bit of stress because you're only got those 3 days to shop through all these bucks and hopefully come up with the one you want to take home. Halfway through the hunt, that's a tough time to see some maybe bucks, and that's just what happened. We had still hunted to the edge of this beautiful green field, and I thought, now's the time to set up and watch. So I picked out a little corner along the woods, set up, and the deer started coming out. And here come a nice buck. I looked at him though, and I could tell right away he was a 2.5-year-old deer, and my heart just said, God, don't shoot a 2.5-year-old, you know, you still got another day ahead of you. So I passed. And right behind him, coming 3.5-year-old. And that deer actually had some mass to him, some character, but he still was just on the borderline of what I would call a shooter. So I bit my lip, pulled my finger away from the trigger, and let him walk. That's a tough thing to do when you're on a hunt. So I did. You know, a lot of times you've got no other possible route except to go through the leaves. So make yourself sound like a deer. When I'm going through the leaves, I walk slower and I try to tiptoe or walk lightly to make it sound like a deer. Deer make noise when they're going through the woods. They're not quiet, especially when they're chasing does. And I also use a grunt tube. Make myself sound like another rutting buck coming into an area. That'll make the buck think that my noise is actually a buck coming. That's a good way to get around, and the deer won't know until it's too late. Hopefully, anyway. Even though I'm in the land of giants, Illinois, I have a horrible jinx going. And I've passed up some good bucks, some deer I kind of kick myself in the rump now for that I shouldn't have passed up. But when you're in this type of country, in any minute, that 160, 170 can come around the tree. So I have to eat my tag a lot. But I still am going to keep coming back here regardless. He looks like a shooter, doesn't he? What do you think?
5 by 6.
So that's one I need to be shooting.
Yeah, if you hold still long enough.
Winchester Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by
Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technologies, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Rifles and Shotguns, the guns that work.
Leasing hunting rights to an outfitter or a group of individuals can be a significant source of income for a landowner. But is paying to hunt private property taken away from the heritage of the sport? Let's join hosts Ron Spomer and Larry Wyson as they debate this growing concern.
Big threat to hunting as I see it, leased land. When I was a kid, you'd go knock on a door, ask for permission to hunt. 9 times out of 10 you would get it.
Hunters get together, go to a landowner and say, you know, we'd like to lease this property to have the exclusive hunting rights on those. There are good points and bad points, but I think there tend to be a lot more good points about it.
Wildlife belongs to the people. It's not owned by the guy who owns the land. That's the way it was set up in this country. That's part of the reason why Europeans came to North America, because as you probably know, the king owned the deer.
More people are buying up land simply for hunting. That's going to be good for wildlife. It may not be good for an individual hunter. It may make it a little bit tougher.
What happens when every little landowner fences his property off and says, it's mine, it's mine, it's all mine?
A lot of management areas set up across the state. There is a fair amount of public hunting on national forests, thank goodness, on Bureau of Land Management. There are lots of opportunities still available for somebody that wants to hunt.
I'm afraid what we're doing is painting ourselves into a corner. We're going back to the old medieval system in which the dukes and the kings owned all the deer and the rest of the peasants got their hands chopped off if they played Robin Hood and poached one.
Keeping that land in a situation to where it can provide and produce wildlife in any great numbers is an expensive deal to begin with. That's one of the reasons leased hunting has become very important in the overall scheme of hunting, because it's preserving habitat.
Log on to tell us where you stand on the debate.
I've had a chance to hunt pronghorn in Wyoming and elk, and great experiences, but I've never had a chance to hunt deer until this year.
Mark's hunting with Trophies Plus Outfitters in northeastern Wyoming. Their primary territory extends across the border and into Montana, providing access to trophy whitetail deer in both states. This gives their hunters the option of taking 2 bucks, one in each state should they desire.
Those whitetails are all going to those pines, Kurt.
I think you're right.
I think we're going to have to get into those pines or do some still hunting. Let's get up and
Move on.
head that way. Grab my rifle.
And you know what? It is a small world after all. Kurt and I knew a lot of the same people from southeast Montana, so we immediately hit it off and started out on a good foot, on a good hunt in good country.
There's a finger that comes down right on just over the hill from them. One that comes down from that point, and one big one that comes down here, and they all meet right down there below us. We get down here to this point. There's a game trail that comes right along here. Sometimes they will come behind us, but usually you can hear them, especially for the bucks chasing.
Boy, the first day, the first few hours of the hunt, I was excited.
Right there he is.
We got on a shooter right away. I mean, right out of the box.
God, he looks like a shooter, doesn't he? What do you think?
5 by 6.
That just happened so fast. I mean, there's one time we could have shot him there and gone. Is that the one you think you've been seeing in here?
That's the one we've been seeing. Yeah.
So that's the one I need to be shooting.
Yeah. If you hold still long enough.
That's the problem when they're rutting like that. They don't hold still.
But he should be back.
Well, if you've been seeing him here every day or every other day or so, you've been
About every other day. So he's still going to stick around. He's chasing another doe, or he's chasing a buck back up there.
You can see him right through this hole through there. Those 2 dogs on the side of theirs.
We had another good buck, and then the same thing happened. Heavy, thick timber, and you only give me seconds to get on him. And then I got the rug taken out from under me, literally. A huge cold front come in. The bucks that were rutting decided they'd better go back into survival mode. Right now I'm sitting in sub-zero temperatures. That's what we got up to this morning. 8, 10, 11 below zero. Wind chills that go well below that, 20, 30, sometimes even up to 40 below wind chills. And that can test the best hunter. I don't care how tough you are. You can only spend a few hours sitting in one spot before you either got to get up and move or go to your truck and warm up. It's that tough when you're trying to kill a whitetail in severe conditions like this. Now, there were some other factors that we were running into. Kurt even saw a whitetail being taken down by a mountain lion right before I arrived on the hunt.
Oh man.
Right there.
So this could be the reason I'm not seeing as many deer?
I would say it's a real good reason.
Look at that. He didn't cache him like they usually do. Usually they bury him.
Yeah, usually they scratch grass and sticks with the top load.
Ugh. Nice 4x5, young deer. That deer had all the framework to be a stud in another couple of years. But yeah, there's just, I can stick my hand right up in that hole. He ate the heart out of him and right up through the good stuff. And that's it. I mean, he didn't eat enough there to even fill him up.
No, no.
We ran into some tough obstacles here in Wyoming. Wyoming, you wait. I'm going to be back again and again, so don't forget me.